101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's a doctor, survivor, caregiver, and a powerful story, and the author of the debut book, The Other Side of Illness, Unexpected Blessings, none other than Dr. Robin Hall.
Hello, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Dr. Robin on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Well, I'm a board certified family physician, best selling author. You mentioned my book, best selling on Amazon, and speaker, a keynote speaker. And I have over 30 years of clinical medicine practice. And I recently transitioned out of clinical medicine into my writing and speaking and education and leadership development. So I'm fulfilling my mission in a different way.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you. The title promises unexpected blessings. What is the most surprising or counterintuitive blessings you discover in your own journey with illness?
Well, what your audience should know is that not only am I a cancer survivor, but my husband is a stage 4 cancer survivor as well. And when I did this book, everybody thought the book was about us, but it actually is stories of many people. After over 30 years of practicing medicine and taking care of thousands of patients, and then having my own experience, um, personal and professional experiences, I felt it was important to write something that would help other people, to give a narrative that's positive in an otherwise not so positive discussion. And so, so many people are diagnosed with life threatening diseases, but not all diseases are life threatening. Some of them are possibly life altering. I wanted people to see that there can be positives on the other side of what could be a very scary journey.
Dr. Robin, for someone newly diagnosed in the thick of fear or grief, the idea of blessing can feel alienating. How did you navigate the tension personally, and how do you address it in the book?
So, what I did in the book is I interviewed um, other people. Many of them were my patients, some of them were friends of mine, and some of them were people from across the country, the US. And I told their story in first person so that the readers could get the essence of what they told me. And in each of these cases, I mean, the stories are absolutely amazing. And in each one of these cases, these people, regardless of how serious their adversity was, they found something positive from it. And there was an overall theme that I found, and that was at the end of the day, there was gratitude. Now, that seems like something you wouldn't expect. Because when people get a diagnosis of something life altering, and all these stories, they're not all cancer stories. There's stories in there about organ transplants, injuries, heart issues, you name it. We have just about everything covered there. And what people have seen is that their perspective changes. They cherish the time that they have on earth when they may not have before. But the first thing that people think about when they're given a diagnosis that's life altering or life threatening is, why me? It's easy to say, why me, or and become a victim, or why us if it's happening in your family. And sometimes there's denial, but then there's acceptance, hopefully. And people can go different ways. They can accept the diagnosis and make changes in their lifestyle, or they can start letting that illness define them. We've probably all seen people that had a diagnosis and then that's all they could talk about, and they became that diagnosis rather than seeing themselves as a person with an illness or an adversity that they had to navigate. I lost your audio.
Yes, empowering answer, Dr. Robin. Truly, truly empowering. How did writing this book change your own relationship with your illness or your story? Did you uncover blessings in the process of writing itself?
Yes, I had my own blessings from this. Number one, it was cathartic to write the book. It truly was a passion project, it was a calling for me. And by telling my story, and I didn't even tell my cancer story, I told my infertility story in this book. I did mention my cancer in the introduction, but the blessings for me were that perspective is everything and mindset is everything. And so I started looking at my own life on what I could do differently. Was this a wake up call? And after years and years of taking care of other patients, I started taking better care of myself and not putting myself on the back burner. I also started looking at every day with gratitude. You know, I know you have an audio book that says that's life is short. And that is so true. And for some people to just hear that, they may think, well, I know life is short or it's a blessing. And we hear that all the time. But when you're given an unexpected diagnosis, it changes everything. And you truly start seeing life through a different lens. And I wanted to have other people be inspired that this is not the end of the world and that even if it's life threatening, there can be positive things that come out of it. It may not be for you yourself, but you may be inspiring someone else that's watching your journey.
You write about finding blessings, Dr. Robin. Is this an active process of searching or a passive state of receptivity that eventually arrives?
Well, I think sometimes it's just found in hindsight. You know, I don't think that people necessarily start looking for blessings when they're ill. That's all they're focusing on. Many times they see it in the end. You know, Oscar Wilde has a quote that sums all of this up. And he says, what seems to us as bitter trials are sometimes blessings in disguise. And that is so true. It's not just with illness, but with other things in life. Many times we think, oh my gosh, this is the worst challenge that we've had to go through. And then we look back on it and we see why it happened. And I think that that is the case with some of these situations.
Many talk about fighting an illness. Does your concept of finding blessings require a different metaphor, like journeying with or listening to it?
I'm glad you asked that question because I never have liked the term fighting the illness. In fact, my husband, I mentioned is a stage 4 cancer survivor, he never liked using that term because when you say you're fighting something, it indicates there might be a winner and a loser. We don't want to look at it that way. And so I like to talk about the journey through the adversity or the journey with whatever the health challenge is. And how can we change our perspective? How can we look for positive benefits that we may not have expected at all. You know, some of the stories in the book are pretty amazing. People have epiphanies or they reconnect with people that they had been estranged from. They strengthened relationships. Some of them found God or strengthened their faith in God. Other people found a purpose and started living a purposeful, intentional life. But one thing that I see in almost every story are these people give back. They get this, just like with me writing the book. It was a passion, it was a calling that I needed to give back, that I needed to help inspire other people. There's nothing more depressing and isolating and devastating than sitting in a waiting room when your loved one's getting chemotherapy or some other types of treatments. And if I'd had a book like this to just pick up and read one story and another time read another story, just to give me a little lift, to get me through that second, that minute, that hour. And sometimes that's all people need. It's just a little inspiration to get through those times. And so that was the whole purpose for this. And I found that it not only helped me, but it really hit a chord based on the number of people that bought the book, especially right when it came out in 23. It hit the Amazon bestseller list for 6 weeks straight. And I got people responding to me that this is what they needed. They needed something positive because illness can be so isolating. And people don't want to go around complaining to their friends all the time. But when you read these stories and you see positive things that come from it, then you feel like, hey, I can deal with this. I can get through this next day.
Dr. Robin, can you share an example of a mundane moment or profound limitation that hindsight become a clear portal to one of these unexpected blessings?
So, if I understand your question, you want an example of a positive thing that came out from one of these people's story. Is that
Yes,
what you're asking?
please.
Okay. So, for instance, there is a woman that was diagnosed with the worst type of breast cancer. It's called triple negative breast cancer. And she was in the worst part of her journey getting chemotherapy. She was hurting all over. She, of course, lost her hair. And her husband was sitting next to her and she was crying. And he thought she was crying because she felt so bad. But instead, she said, I know what I need to do. She had an epiphany. She said, we're so blessed because we have health insurance and we have an income, even though I'm not able to work right now. What about all these other people that may have insurance, but if they're an hourly employee or there's someone that can't pay their bills when they're undergoing treatment, what about them? She ended up in the midst of the worst part of her life threatening illness, starting a cancer foundation, a nonprofit cancer foundation that has raised thousands and thousands of dollars to help other people navigate their cancer journey. That's pretty impressive. I'm afraid I might have been having a little bit of a pity party when I was if I was in her situation, but that's just one of the many stories of people that did fabulous things. There's another man that had a heart issue, and he was a self-proclaimed jerk before that happened. He said he was introspective, dismissive of other people, pretty much just focusing on himself. But through his life-threatening heart issue, he became a total changed man. He became more compassionate. He started being more intentional. He started seeing life through a child's eyes, things that as we get older, we overlook and don't pay as much attention to. So he saw it as a blessing. The other woman saw it as a blessing. And those are just a couple of the many stories, and they're all very unique and different.
Unique and different. Oh, Dr. Robin, thank you for empowering us. So, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
So I will probably do a sequel. You know, Jack Canfield, that was co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul series, he encouraged me with this book. He endorsed it there on the cover, that it should be a series, collect more stories. And I'll probably do that later on. Right now, I'm spending a lot of time giving keynote speeches on different health topics, encouraging people to thrive and taking control of their health. You know, adversity doesn't check our calendar. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Life
Yeah.
is what happens when we're making other plans."
Mm-hmm.
Well, a health adversity happens not necessarily when you expect it, never does. And so right now, I am just spending time with my keynotes, and I will probably start writing the other book in the next year or so.
Well, good luck to your goals, Dr. Robin. I'm looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Like me as in an author, or like me as looking at a different perspective on illness?
Can we do both?
We can do both. Okay.
Yeah, please.
So, one of the things that I have always lived by is I've always set goals for myself, and I've learned to not listen to naysayers. And by giving that advice, whatever your goal or dream is, whether it's to write a book, to start a podcast, to do whatever, don't let anybody dissuade you from that if that's your passion and your purpose. And as far as other advice, I would just tell people to cherish every minute and don't live another day with a life that you don't want. We all have a choice in how we want to live our lives, and a choice on the way that we look at it.
Yes, empowering advice, Dr. Robin. And can you please recommend a book or books that influenced you, Johnny?
Well, one of them is Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. I think that so many, especially women, don't have a lot of self confidence. Maybe they've always been told that they weren't good enough or had people that didn't encourage them. And I think that that is a very inspiring book to help people learn to not doubt themselves, and that they can reach any goal that they want to. I also really enjoy the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. There's Chicken Soup for the Soul for Cancer Survivor and a lot of other ones, and those are inspirational as well. I like to read from all different genres, and so it's hard to just pick one or two out, but um, Worthy is one that I think resonates especially with a lot of women.
Yes, and thank you for that recommended books, Dr. Robin. So, how has the journey influenced what you now believe about resilience? Is it about bouncing back, or is it about transforming into something new?
I think resilience is about bouncing back. Um, so many people have more resilience than they actually think that they do. I know that one person asked my husband, "How are you dealing with all this?" And he said, "Well, I didn't know I had a choice." You know, we don't
Yes.
usually realize our resilience until we've walked through it. And then we see that we had more resilience than we thought we did. And unless you just curl up in a ball and go to bed and not deal with life, you are resilient. Every
Mm.
day that you get up and face life's challenges is an example of resilience. The problem is people just don't see themselves that way.
Yes, definitely. Dr. Robin, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my Abstract Essay is already in fifth season, Abstract Poetry in third season, and my book 101 review is sixth season this year, Comedy 101 in third season, and my Food 101 in sixth season as well. Geography 101 Love Letters, Movie 101 Review, Music 101 fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101 in its third season, and my baby podcast, Trivia 101, Mental Health 101, Motivation 101, Entrepreneurship 101, and of course, Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. Robin, if you could ensure readers take away one fundamental truth or feeling from your book, what would it be?
Inspiration. I would want people to walk away feeling inspired that no matter what life throws at them, whether it's an illness or other adversity, that they have more resilience than they might think that they do. And sometimes they just have to take it one step at a time.
Take it, people, take it! And being resilience in every time. And Dr. Robin, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, the book is found at Amazon, also Barnes and Noble, and it's an audio format too on iTunes and Audible. And my website is drrobinhall.com, and that gives more information about the book and about my speaking. And if someone wants to contact me, they can contact me through there.
Yes, please do so. So, one more question, Dr. Robin. The other side in your title implies passage. Having crossed it, and how do you see most clearly now that we invisible to you before?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part. How do I see
Invisible to you before.
invisible to me before? I think that um, I'm just more aware and more in the moment, more in the present moment, and not just going through life from one thing to the next, but really taking in everything that's happening around me. And I think that the other people whose stories I told would tell you the same thing, that life is much more intentional.
Yes, Dr. Robin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Modicum people, see you soon.